In 2012, Americans generated about 251 million tons of trash and recycled and composted almost 87 million tons, equivalent to a 34.5% recycling rate. On average, Americans recycled and composted 1.51 pounds out of our individual waste generation rate of 4.38 pounds per person per day. Landfills are often the most cost-efficient way to dispose of waste, especially in countries like the United States with large open spaces. While resource recovery and incineration both require extensive investments in infrastructure, and material recovery also requires extensive manpower to maintain, landfills have fewer fixed or ongoing costs.
Like a dog without a bone, an actor out alone, riders on the storm. There's a killer on the road, his brain is squirming like a toad. Take a long holiday.
Landfill gas is a complex mix of different gases created by the action of microorganisms within a landfill. Landfill gas is approximately 40 to 60% methane, with the remainder being mostly carbon dioxide. Landfill gas is the result of three different processes. The first, evaporation of volatile organic compounds. The second, chemical reactions between waste components. And the third is microbial action. The first two depend strongly on the nature of waste. The dominant process in most landfills is the third process, microbial action, which mainly affords methane and carbon dioxide together with trace of other compounds. Because gases produced by landfills are both valuable and sometimes even hazardous, monitoring techniques have been developed. Flame ionization detectors can be used to measure methane levels as well as total VOC levels. Surface monitoring and subsurface monitoring, as well as the monitoring of the ambient air, is carried out. In the U.S., under the Clean Air Act of 1996, it is required that many large landfills install gas collection and control systems, which means that they are at the very least the facilities must collect and flare the gas. U.S. federal regulations under the RCRA, formed in October of 1979, regulate the sitting, design, construction, operation, monitoring, and closure of MSW landfills. RCRA requires controls on the migration of methane and landfill gas. Monitoring requirements must be met at landfills during their operation and for an additional 30 years after. The landfills affected by the RCRA are required to control gas by establishing a way to check for methane emissions periodically and therefore prevent off-site migration. Landfill owners and operators must make sure the concentration of methane gas does not exceed 25% of the LEL for methane in the facility's structures. The environmental problem we face as a result of landfills is groundwater pollution from leachates. Although they intend to protect human beings from toxins due to natural deterioration, the protective barriers only delay the inevitable. When a new municipal landfill is proposed, advocates of the project always emphasize that no hazardous waste will enter the landfill. However, several studies have shown that even though municipal landfills may not legally receive hazardous waste, the leachate they produce is as dangerous as the leachates from hazardous waste landfills. The major issue caused with landfill leachates is the leakage of a large number of toxins into freshwater waterways, which ultimately ends up in our homes as drinking water or water for everyday use. Since landfills are most often located in and around large bodies of fresh water or swamps, the pollution often goes undetected. The compounds submerge to the groundwater and inevitably to our dinner tables. The pollution is also severely harmful to animal and plant life. The Mallard Ridge landfill just outside of Delavan on Route 11 is around 600 feet away from a natural creek and surrounded by farm fields. The leachates and other hazardous material could pollute the ground, eventually getting to the groundwater, making the water polluted and hazardous to animals and plants that would use that as a natural water source.
Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm. Riders on the storm.